Welcome to the Globetrottin ADs. This podcast is for you, athletic directors, activity coordinators, coaches, and program associates based in international schools around the world. The Globetrottin ADs is proudly hosted by Nick DeForest from the American International School, Vienna, and Matt Fleming from the American International School of Budapest. Here they are now, Nick and Matt, and the Globetrottin ADs.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Globetrottin ADs. Glad to be back. Here we go. We're in season 4. This is episode 5, and today's title is Small School Double Duty. So we're talking to some ADs from some small schools in the region of where Nick and I are here in the DVAC, the Danube Valley region. So we're going to talk about what their situation is in the smaller schools and all the various roles they play in these small schools and how it works out for them and their programs. So we're happy to have Melvin Purdue today from the International Christian School of Vienna, and also just in Neil Best from the Budapest British International School. He'll be joining us as well. So before we get into that, though, I'll send it over to Nick in Vienna. Greetings, Nick. The big week of the first this weekend. Welcome back.
Yes, we had a good weekend, and this is great. We have a DVAC episode here, which is cool. Matt, you said it, Danube Valley Athletic Conference, and it's pretty cool because, you know, Matt and I are in big schools, around 800, and we're in this awesome conference that is only Saturdays, no housing, no overnights, and we're in it with a lot of other smaller schools, and it gives them their, I guess, one and only conference, and right. It gives us something for all our teams to make the season a lot fuller. But it's great. It's in its 12th year, and exciting to have a DVAC pod today. And here with us right now. We'll see if Neil jumps in, but it's Melvin. Melvin, thanks for taking the time and being with us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Melvin, let's get started. Tell us a little bit about you first, not your school, but a little bit about you, where you're from, how long you've been there, stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm originally from California. Before coming to the International Christian School of Vienna, I spent, 10 to 11 seasons playing professional baseball. Started with independent ball in Texas, and then after that, just started bouncing around the world. Played in the Netherlands in the Dutch Hoofdklasse, which is, one of the top leagues in Europe for a number of years. Lived in Australia, just bounced around, just trying to live the dream. Then eventually, me and the wife, we wanted to settle down somewhere, and then we eventually landed in Vienna.
Cool. Just put your finger down on the map, or what?
Well, no, I actually got connected with somebody who used to work at the school because during COVID, we were back in California, and I got my teaching credential at that time. And then I got connected with somebody who used to work at the International Christian School of Vienna. And he knew that I wanted to go back overseas because I just felt like I could be more impactful abroad. Not that I wasn't doing wonderful things in California, but I just love the idea of working with kids from so many different nations and backgrounds. And he just told me to look on the website and see if there was any openings because there might be. And lo and behold, when I looked at the website, they were trying to hire an athletic director as well as learning support, which is the terminology here for special education. So they were looking for both of those roles. So I wound up getting hired and filled both of those roles.
And that's why you're here today, double duty.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
All right. Well, thanks, Melvin. And Neil's with us now. So Neil, welcome to the show. Glad you could join us. Just give us a little bit of intro. Who you are, where you're at, where you're from originally.
So I'm Neil Best. I'm the head of PE at Budapest British International School, a small international school here in Budapest in Hungary. I'm originally from the UK. I've been teaching internationally now for just over 10 years. And originally from a small town in the northeast of England. Spent time in Saudi Arabia, in Jeddah for 5 years, and then 2 years in Houston, in Texas, and then this is now the start of my 4th year here in Budapest. So
that's great. And we have double Budapest, double Vienna. We're just missing Bratislava really for the core of the DVAC. Old capital cities here, right, real close.
Yeah, guys. So the title of today's program, as I mentioned in the intro, is Small School Double Duty. So, we're digging into what happens in a small international school in terms of being the guy who's in charge of the sports program and getting fixtures and games, getting your school teams into tournaments. But at the same time, we know in smaller schools, and I know this from my experience in working in a smaller school at the beginning of my international career, that you guys wear a lot of different hats. You have a lot of different roles and responsibilities. So we're going to kind of get into that right now, and then just explain to us like how that breaks down for you guys, and maybe how do you figure out your time allotment, or what do you maybe put a little more weight into in your job versus one thing or the other, in terms of what you're trying to accomplish in your sports program, as well as you might be in charge of your PE program. Like, how does that all break down? So let's go ahead and go back to Melvin. So Melvin, tell us a little bit about your job title and what you're doing there at Christian School of Vienna.
Yeah, so besides being the athletic director, like I said, I work in learning support, but I also teach gen ed courses as well. So I'm in charge of the entire learning support of the secondaries, so the high school, basically. Okay. So all those kids are under my umbrella. And if I'm not teaching them directly, they might have accommodations. So I have to check in with them, check in with teachers, monitor their grades, make sure they're being accommodated and supported. So yeah, that takes up a chunk of time for sure. I currently teach last year I was teaching chemistry and math. This year I'm teaching biology and math, as well as a basketball and a soccer class for juniors and seniors, for regular students, so to speak. Then as far as the AD role, like, wow, I mean, literally doing everything as far as logistics and everything is concerned. I mean, I've been blessed with with some staff members who have helped coach, and it does help that we are able to pay them a small stipend, which definitely helps because I've talked to other ADs where it might have been like volunteer work and they really had a tough time. So I think the fact that we can pay them a little stipend definitely helps, but it's definitely different. I grew up around sports programs and worked close with ADs in the past, and it's I don't know how it is at you guys' schools, but at mine it's tough because I'm literally organizing everything. I'm responsible for organizing all the uniforms for all the teams, budgeting for all the teams, logistics and travel for all the teams, scheduling games and friendlies and things like that for all the teams. It's just really managing everything. And then in my school in particular, we have things that have been a part of tradition that they don't really want to let go of, that I'm kind of like, do we really have to do this? But things like every time we have an event, I need to draft a letter and send it out to all the parents. We invite you to the middle school soccer festival in Budapest and things of that nature, little meticulous things like that. So yeah, it definitely adds up. Last year I had an assistant AD who definitely helped with some of those smaller things, but now he's actually the AD at DIS now. So this year has been more of a lot that I've had that has been on my plate to take care of for sure.
And do you have a breakdown of your percentage, like contractual or whatever? They told you like, X amount percent of your job is as learning support specialist, X amount is as the athletic director.
Yeah, but it's definitely okay. It's definitely backwards. So in theory, I only have one period a day for athletic director duty, which is 7th period. Right. So that's 50 minutes. That's a allotted 50-minute time 3 days a week, and then one block day on Tuesday, which is 90 minutes. And technically, that is my allotted time to get everything done. And if you are an athletic director, you know that is literally impossible. So it's very backwards. That's what the contract says is for one period, but the time that I actually put in is more like 60% AD, 40%, lesson planning and things like that. So
wow. Well, definitely a lot to unpack there in your school, and we have some follow-up questions for both of you about some of the things you just said, Melvin. But Neil, why don't you give us a glimpse into your life as Melvin did over in Budapest?
To be honest, Melvin, I completely feel you. So my job title, I'm kind of in a very small school wearing quite a few different hats. So whilst I'm the head of PE, although we don't have a specific athletics director title, that falls under me. I'm also kind of the curriculum coordinator for the MYP program at our school as well. And then in conjunction with the diploma program coordinator, we're both kind of temporary co-head of secondary school at the moment as well. So we've got a lot of kind of things going on in terms of kind of percentages, like what Matt asked Melvin. There isn't really one specifically for kind of my AD role. It just kind of falls under trying to be super organized and just trying to get everything kind of out to parents and things as much as possible. We've got a couple of members of staff at school who are great, who get involved as well, but it's very heavily kind of our PE team, our phys ed team that do a lot of the coaching. And outside of that, we've got a couple of teachers within the primary school working on like the elementary sport. But that's pretty much about it. So I know my wife would be a lot happier if I could not do as much as I currently do. But yeah, it's just a lot of it's kind of about juggling. The sport at our school, to be honest, is really kind of, since COVID, has really kind of kicked off. When I joined the school, it was one of my big things to actually drive and push forwards. Then COVID hit and everything ground to a halt. And then kind of this year, the kind of end of last year when sport started getting back up, the students now at school have really, really just ballooned. So we're managing to kind of get 2 middle school boys teams for most sports, and high school sport is picking up as well. So yeah, and then kind of even just the whole organization and managing budgets and things like that as well. Like I've got obviously to look after the PE, like the curriculum side of things, and then also organize the sports competitions and entries into tournaments and transports and all this. So yeah, so it's just sometimes it's very much a bit of a juggle. So
yeah, for sure. And I can second that, from being here in Budapest with Neil saying, because I've seen I have to give him kudos first and foremost because he does an amazing job, and it's great to see him doing all this work. It's like every time I see him, sometimes I'll see him twice in a week. He'll come over coaching the middle school soccer team. The next day he's coming over to coach the JV volleyball team. So that's not uncommon, and it's basically him and two other folks we'll see on a regular basis. But they do a phenomenal job. I know how much work that takes, and how much keen attention to detail it takes to make these things happen and keep them on straight. But I just want to say you guys are doing a great job from my perspective, and it's always a pleasure to have their teams over.
I must admit, I remember the first time coming up at your place, Matt, and seeing that you had your own office and an assistant. And there's me thinking, whoa, where's this come from? What do you have to do to get to that level?
Yeah, I know. Another point. But so we've talked about all these challenges, and thanks guys for laying it out there, because it gives everybody a good perspective about what it is to be like in a small school and wear all these hats. And it is a lot of work, and it takes a super amount of organization, making sure you're on top of stuff. And this is very challenging. It might sound like it's daunting, but you guys managed to handle it pretty good. So along with that, there's got to be some upside, right? There's got to be some positives that are being in this job where you got to wear all these hats. So maybe you guys can explain a little bit about that. Like what's the upside of being in a small school and having all these roles?
Yeah, I would say for me, the upside is what I've always known I'd be doing anyway, which was being able to impact the youth. When you're in a smaller school, you definitely know all your athletes. You know all the vast majority of the students in the entire school. So you're definitely able to build those relationships and, mentor them. And, I'm really big on, you call it bringing a little bit of old school and also a little bit of the American mentality over, but, I'm all for using the sports program for life lessons of, handling adversity, persevering, stepping out of your comfort zone and things of that nature that will really build up their character for the future. And I take pride in doing that. So it's definitely upside to just be able to watch these kids grow, with the last couple of years that I've been here, and just watch the program grow, because it was my understanding that in previous years, it was really a struggle at the school. And I learned this internally and externally. I remember I was talking to another AD like the first couple of months I was here, and I was just asking, I was like, how's my school been in previous years? And he just kind of laughed, and he was like, well, they're never really good. And I was like, ouch. But I definitely took pride in, and that was the first thing that I said to my fall athletes the first year I was there. I was like, we're changing this dynamic. It's not going to happen overnight, but we are definitely changing this dynamic where we're not going to just be a group of kids that's just getting together and just playing some ball. No, we're going out there with a purpose to be successful for the school, for the community. And even though we're a small school, if we develop that right mentality, we can excel in the future. And we're starting to see that, like our basketball programs did well last year. All of our soccer teams have winning records right now. Obviously Nick's team destroyed us, but that's another story. They're all sophomores, so we're gonna see you our senior year.
Yeah, there you
go. but no, and we're really starting to see the program grow and the team's getting stronger and the kids really buying in. We've only had a small handful of kids that's actually like quit, so to speak. Like last year, our participation rate of kids who started and committed through the season was right around 92-93%, which was definitely not the case in previous years. Kids would drop off very easily, but we've just developed that new mentality that we're going to continue to carry on. Besides that, for me individually, it's just, I actually, it's a lot of work and it can be stressful for sure, but I do enjoy it. I do enjoy building something at a small school because, you feel like it's really yours to build up.
Right.
And there's definitely some upside and some pleasure in doing that.
Yeah.
And just watching the program grow and things of that nature for sure.
Oh, that's great. And I see, Neil, you're nodding. So maybe something similar along those lines as your upside for being at a small school?
Yeah, completely. I sound like mine and Melvin's school kind of very similar. So I joined and my school didn't actually compete against any other international schools really here in Budapest. And it was one of the things the principal at the time really wanted to grow and build. So getting in touch with the likes of Matt and stuff, and Gergo and a few of the others, and actually starting to build a program has been something that's kind of been a couple of years in the making. To the point, just as kind of Melvin mentioned, like just seeing it grow and it develop, and the more students get involved, and that enthusiasm that builds really easily within a small school. Mm-hmm. Although we kind of have our football team will be the basketball team, and they'll also be the volleyball team because we don't have a plethora of students to actually choose from. But just kind of being able to see the development in the students as well. Like our JV volleyballers are doing very, very well at the moment this year, and a lot of that has kind of been building over the last couple of years with that core group that have kind of stuck together. So I think probably I'm already challenged myself. So we've got a game against another international school tomorrow, and I've decided to step it up and play our JV teams against their varsity just to see where we stand. We may get our rear ends handed back to us, but at least we know where we are, and we know where our growth is, and where to kind of aim for against kind of some of these much bigger schools. So I think for me, kind of one of the biggest rewarding things is just seeing that growth and seeing seeing the students get involved, and then it kind of, in a small school, you only really need, in my opinion, maybe 3 or 4 students really to kind of catch fire with it, and it just starts to grow and expand throughout the year.
Yeah.
I've seen it this year with our middle school girls football. There's been kind of 2 or 3 girls that have really got into it, and their enthusiasm's just infected a lot of other girls, and we've ended up now kind of getting about 12 or 13 girls involved, which is awesome considering we've struggled over the last kind of couple of years really to get middle school girls football started. So for me, it's those wins. Although yes, success is good and the wins are always good as well. For me, it's just seeing, to be honest, the development and getting as many students involved as possible. So I think actually I did a bit of number crunching before we started, and we've had, so this current season that we're playing in, we've currently got about 68% of our secondary school participating in competitive sport, which is awesome. Yeah. Obviously, 68% is nothing compared to the likes of like yours and Matt's school, in terms of the numbers, but that kind of percentage I think is amazing to have, and to kind of build on as well from there. Yeah. So
no, those are some great positives, right? Because you to instill change, you have, and everyone knows you can really reach the students, and then it's easier to make change for the better, like you guys both are and mentioned. So that's great. What I think all international schools, they would never put a teacher in the classroom that's not trained or has experience. And I just wondered at a small school, because Matt and I and a lot of our colleagues that travel to these conferences around, we get PD money. Our schools want us to be trained and to keep developing like a teacher. Has your schools talked about that with you? Do they give you opportunities to grow as an AD, or what's that like? Is just as long as whatever you're doing, as long as you're making a positive impact, that's fine?
Well, at our site, it as far as teachers is concerned, we're required, because we're an ACSI accredited school, and with that, we're required to do a certain amount of professional development and things like that to renew your certification. So definitely on the teaching side, we do professional development every Thursday, and we have things that are required outside of the school that we have to do. But as an AD, my previous principal, who's moved on this year, she did recommend some resources, some professional development resources for me as an athletic director. And she thought it would be a good certification to have. The name is escaping me, but she said she did it when she used to be the athletic director in Indonesia. Mm-hmm. So, she passed over a couple of things for PD to get better at for sure. But primarily, it's more on the teaching side at my school.
Sure. And you're coming from the American perspective, Melvin, as you mentioned in that Christian school. But Neil, you're in a British school, and you said how you're the head of PE and just are the sport guy as well. So what's that look like, PD wise?
So I think so. In terms of PD, like a lot of kind of our schools, PD is generally geared towards the more teaching side. Really, it's more just a case of if there's courses that I found out about or kind of see about, then I will tend to share them with some of our coaches and like coaches who are the teachers in schools. Sure. So for example, like the FA in the UK recently rebooted their football in level 1. So I shared that with a couple of the teachers who went and just did that on their own back. Mm-hmm. And then during lockdown, the NFHS, so the National Federation of High School Sport, the US one that I knew about from when I was in Houston, they were offering a lot of free online courses. Yeah. So I got a couple of our staff to go through them. So just things like basketball officiating. There was a volleyball coaching one as well that was free. Yeah. But it was more kind of just finding what was available and kind of sharing out from there. Because a lot of it with being in a small school, the focus with that kind of aspect does tend to be on a lot more kind of education and classroom basis than kind of being able to send staff off to go do a particular sport, sport training course. We obviously have the the first aid course and things that are mandatory that we always go through, and things that we're required to with kind of our certification with COBIS. But yeah, that's kind of the way that our PD tends to work, really.
Well, if you need any suggestions, or if you have a director that all of a sudden wants to develop you in your athletic director role, then listen to our podcast. I'm just kidding. Then let us know, and we'll share some good stuff with you.
Nice plug there.
Yeah.
Kukri are a global multi-sport clothing brand specializing in providing the world's most prestigious schools with bespoke made and designed team uniforms for students of all standards and abilities. If you are frustrated by inconsistent colors, branding, costs, and sizing across your school's uniforms, then it's time to discuss an offering where every sport is available, from softball to soccer, for male and female athletes at rates to suit your budget. To find out how Kukri could elevate the apparel of your student athletes to a professional level, email the team at contact@kukrisports.com. A dedicated sales manager will offer you a quote today. Mention this ad and receive a special offer on your coach or PE staff order.
So guys, thanks for sharing all these little bits of information about your jobs. Actually, it's a lot that you've shared with us about your roles in your school. So, the challenges, the rewards, of course, and the upsides. But in terms of the busyness of it and everything you have to stay on top of, do you ever worry about missing something or not doing something that could be important because you are so busy and split amongst your jobs between running the sports program or your teaching role or the other things you have to do?
Yeah, 100%. I make it a habit to I write down what I need to do in multiple ways. Like I use my phone, my calendar on my phone, and put about 2 to 3 reminders on it. I'll also have a notepad on my desk, and I'll write the same thing down on the notepad. So that way I'm not paying attention to my phone, and the notepad is sitting right in front of me. It's like, oh yeah, I still have to do that. I have to give myself constant reminders because there's just so much to remember, especially in the fall.
Yeah.
The fall, the winter, the spring lightens up a little bit, but not really, because I have baseball stuff playing and coaching that I have to do as well outside of the school. But as far as my AD work and everything, it's really about, making sure however you do that, setting your calendar, writing things down, delegating, determining what's vital to take care of immediately, and then maybe something else can be put off a little later. That really helps me get through it. Not afraid to ask for help if I need it, even though, like I said, help is hard to find. Like one of my German teachers at the school, if I need a German email sent out, he'll do it for me now. So that's helpful. And I have a TA, a student working with me, and
nice.
She'll do the school sports billboards in the school, so I don't have to spend 3 hours doing stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's just really about just really managing your time and writing things down or putting things in your phone just so you have these reminders, because it's impossible to just remember everything.
Yeah. That's great. That's some good tips. Good tips. And I think, Neil, before we turn to you, I always say you don't know what you forgot until it's too late, and that's always my worry anyway. What about you, Neil? Balancing your time and
yeah, I mean, post-it notes are one of my biggest friends. My post-it notes and my little A4 pad, my little notepad as well. I've got kind of in my PE classroom, which also I've additionally works as a PE office / athletics director's office when there's no lessons going on in there. I've got one of the little matrices of urgent, important, not urgent, important, that kind of thing that I just kind of move post-it notes through. And I mean, most of my time kind of getting work done tends to be kind of an evening or after school. Mm-hmm. Just kind of trying to organize stuff. And again, as kind of Melvin mentioned, a lot of it is just trying to be super organized. I think probably in this job, this role that I took on, my organization has vastly improved because it's needed to. Yeah. Obviously, when COVID happened, it was quite easy because it was a bit more relaxing because it was just focusing on the teaching side. And then now everything's kicked back up.
Sure.
Yeah. So, but even just well, I think the biggest thing that I've found to kind of help is just trying to almost just get as much information out to parents as early as possible. So I started this season. We actually sent out, rather than sending out an email before a fixture asking if a student is available, just at the start of the season, once we've kind of got the fixtures on most of the events set, just a Google form with little tick boxes of, are they available for this date, this date, this date? Yeah. And then it's just a case of, then I will just send the email to those parents confirming that fixture in advance. And then if basically at the bottom there's a little caveat saying, if your child is no longer available, please contact me. So it's just that kind of, it's reduced for me as well, it's reduced that constant email back and forth. So it's just that one kind of big sweep out. Obviously, if there's additional fixtures and things, that's obviously just added in here and there. But yeah, that's kind of post-it note to my biggest friend, and yeah, just trying to keep on top of everything. And yeah, just trying to juggle. Obviously, leaning on a few members of staff as well to kind of help out where possible, and trying to get our admin team at school to even just help with things like bus bookings and organising transport and stuff where needed. So, because my Hungarian is non-existent. I don't know what Melvin's German's like, but yeah, I speak next to no Hungarian, so I tend to have to ask the office staff to organise buses.
Sure, not a bad thing to do anyway. Even if you did speak Hungarian, if they're try to get help where you can, right, Melvin? All right. Well, look, you're at your school. You're loving your job. I think both of you, or at least really enjoying it, reaching kids. But if you had an open slate, carte blanche, you had no money to worry about, what would you want? What would you ask for first? What would really improve either your job or the experience of your kids? What would you want?
A gym.
A gym. Okay. Yeah.
My school, unfortunately, we have to rent everything that we need for our sports facilities. And it's not easy to do in Vienna because unfortunately in Vienna, for whatever reason, you can't go directly to a school and say, hey, can we rent out your gym from 4 to 6, Monday, Wednesday, Friday? No, every school has to go through this separate organization. I would say it's the MA 51 or something of that effect. And you have to go through them to rent anything in your city, in your district, whatever. And the sad thing about it is first dibs always comes to clubs. So schools get whatever's left. So for example, during basketball season, I have a gym available for 1 day a week for 1 hour and 15 minutes. And that's literally all they would give me. And what I had to do was we purchased this building next to our school, and there was an open space on the far side of the building. So I basically created a full court basketball facility in there, but it's hardly enough to compete in games and things like that. I basically put masking tape lined out as 3-point lines. I am not joking. I actually measured it out and put 3-point lines with masking tape and free throw lines. And I don't know, the entire length of it might be 90 feet. I don't know, but it's not standard, but it's close. But lights hang kind of low. So my varsity guys can't really shoot 3-pointers if they have a high arc. They have to stay in the paint because otherwise they'll destroy the lights in there. But that's what we have to deal with. That allows us at least a place another day or two a week to get some work in as best as we can. We are planning to build a new building. We're already in the process. The plans are already together and things of that nature. Hopefully it's here within the next 3 to 5 years, which will have a gym, which is awesome. But that's definitely the burden, just not having facilities at all, like having to rent everything, and it's expensive.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's not just time consuming or a bit annoying. It's also hits you in the budgets, right? So
100%.
Yeah. All right, Neil. I think you have a gym, Neil. I haven't been to your school.
Well, we've got a 5-a-side football court that has a bubble over the top of it. And when I say a 5-a-side football court, it's about 20 meters long by about 12 meters wide. Wow. So you can just about fit a volleyball court on it. But you kind of have to serve exactly in the middle, so you've got the arch of the bubble, so you don't hit the ceiling. But like we're kind of very similar. We don't really have a proper gym. What we actually did manage to do though is we managed to kind of change our timetable around a little bit. So we have once a week we have like a games session on a morning for 2 hours. With one week A is with our middle school, week B is with our high school, and that's actually at our external site. So we kind of get a nice solid block to actually be able to train with some of the competitive sports teams, as well as those students that don't want to do competitive. We can offer like a recreational sport alongside as well. So that's been quite nice being able to do that. But yeah, in terms of like a carte blanche, probably a little bit like Melvin said, a gym would be ideal. But I think probably the biggest thing for me is just being able to give more time for more students to compete, without kind of the worry about even things like travel or things like so we have a big issue at our school. Many of our students also participate in sport outside of school. So we end up with some students that can't attend training on an evening because that's when they've got their tennis club or their gymnastics club or things like that. And that's been a bit of a big clash that we've kind of found it. So I suppose a carte blanche would be either creating more of an opportunity either within school time or building some form of time machine that just pauses time for an hour to give us an hour training before they then go off and do the rest of their sport. But yeah, I think as well would be, I think obviously you've got the incentives. I think it's quite an American aspect as well, having the opportunity to offer stipends to coaches as well. Right. I think that can be a great way of getting a lot more staff actually involved. Whereas being from the British system and being in a British school, that's something that not many, if not many British schools that I know of even offer stipends. Some of it tend to be more in lines of, okay, well, if you offer a competitive sport, you don't need to do another CCA, that kind of incentive rather than the cash incentive. Right. So I suppose that would probably be something that I would probably look at doing if kind of a money was no object type thing as well. Yeah.
Well, from someone not in the British system and, Canadian American side, for me, I can't understand that, but I hear from every British school, they don't, you don't pay the coaches, but you struggle to get coaches and you struggle to get teachers. So to me, it seems like an easy fix. Just start paying some stipends, but easier said than done, right?
Yeah. Well, guys, appreciate all this inside information you give us and the insight into your roles and your job. So now I know there's going to be some folks listening out here who have similar situations, I'm sure, who are in the small schools and wearing all these hats. So what advice would you give these guys out there, the guys and ladies in the AD roles in similar places as yours?
I would just say, especially if you're new to your roles, it'll get easier. It's sometimes it just takes a little time to, figure out what works for you, how to run your program. Obviously you want to be humble enough to ask for help when you need it, because, sometimes you can literally get overwhelmed if you really try to take on everything yourself. So if there is people that can help you, whether it's an office staff member that can help with some parent emails or a language teacher that can help with some translations, little things like that can go a big way. But I would just say, if you make mistakes, give yourself a break, because it's bound to happen sooner or later, because we just juggle too many things for a mistake not to happen here and there. So yeah, just continue to persevere and, all will be well.
Well said. Thank you. All right, Neil, any advice for folks out there in a small British school somewhere in the world?
Or else? I mean, if anything, it's that whole kind of a quote from one of my old colleagues is organization is the key to life. I I think being in a small school, especially when you've got a lot of different hats that you've got to wear, or a lot of different roles that go alongside doing an AD, it is completely about organization. And as Melvin said, yeah, if you need to, don't be afraid to ask for help. Ask someone to help out. Ask if an office staff can make a few phone calls with you. If one of admin can check out a facility that someone may know of, or things like that. That I think has kind of been the biggest kind of godsend for me, really, is just kind of trying to being organized and getting more and more organized as you get used to the role. I know kind of my first year here, it was very much like, well, okay, we've got a lot of sport going on. We've got a lot of things. We've got DVAC, we've got the Budapest competitions. We've got all this travel and all these students want to be involved and all that. And yeah, the more you get used to it, the easier it does become, but it will only get easier if you make sure that you are organized. So yeah, that would be my biggest bit of advice, is just be as organized, borderline OCD organized. So
yeah, that's great advice, because it'll help you be more efficient too. You know, you, like we said, you're going to make a mistake, you learn from it, you don't repeat it, especially if it's in one of your logistical roles, and you just kind of next time move forward a little quicker, and you can skip that if you know you made a mistake, what not to do.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, Matt knows all about that. When I've sent him a team list at 1 minute to 3, and we're due to set off to his school at 3:05.
All right.
Well, hey guys, we have one more question that we try to ask everybody before we go. Not job related whatsoever, but all of our internationals around, we want to just ask, maybe tell us one of your favorite things, or best thing to do, thing to eat, something about your new adoptive home where you're at right now. So Melvin, why don't you kick us off? What do you, in your few years in Vienna, what's stuck out as something you really like?
Golf.
Golf. There's golf nowhere else in the world, Melvin.
That's my safe haven. Yeah. No, Vienna is a phenomenal city. You know, as far as, you know, just beautiful gardens and just a lot of nice places to just go hang out. And I definitely appreciate that. Yeah, I've enjoyed my time here in general. You know, I do a lot of different things, as you know, Nick, because, you know, coach the softball national team, you know, still play baseball in the first league here. So there's a lot of things for a lot of people, you know, and I try to tap into a little bit of all of it.
Cool. Very good. Stay busy.
Busy.
All right, Neil, what about you in Budapest?
I think for me, I mean, if I had no kids, it would be a very different answer. But yeah, I think for me, just kind of the green spaces. For being a city, there are so many little parks and things I can take my 2 kids to. We live a 10-minute walk from Margaret Island as well, which is a great place to take my 2 kids out on a morning and things as well. And just, yeah, kind of being in Saudi Arabia and being in Houston and Texas, where there wasn't really any public transport, and then coming to Budapest, and the public transport is unbelievable and it's so cheap. Just being able to just get around the city and see different parts of the city is amazing. And then, yeah, in terms of food, I've been here 4 years, and it was only on the weekend that I actually tried my first ever chimney cake.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, wow. I've been here 4 years. First time I tried it, and I had one with my daughter after she'd finished a little football club on the island, and oh my word, with Nutella inside, I was like, what? Why have I not found this before?
Yeah, they're good.
I'd be about 10 sizes bigger, but honestly, it was fantastic. So that for me is now my kind of, I would say, definitely my favorite bit of Hungarian food.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah, they're good. Our kids and I like those as well when we're around, and they get them a lot in Austria too, being so close.
Yeah, they're impossible to. Yeah, it's impossible to pass those up when you see them. Now, like when they're making it at a like a festival or something, they're making it fresh. You can smell it cooking.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's such a good thing.
Cool.
All
right.
right.
Listen, guys, back to kind of wrap us up. Matt, you always wrap us up anyway, but before you get a hold of it, Matt, really glad you guys came on and shared, the stuff. You didn't share problems with your schools, and we didn't want to have people from small schools on to highlight things that you don't do right or things like that, but really to showcase, how many great things you do for kids, ADs like you in all the DVAC schools, but all these little schools that wear multiple hats that really, go the extra mile to give their kids a great experience playing sports. So we kind of wanted to highlight that, despite all the other things you got going on around you. So thanks for being here and talking about your schools.
Yeah, for sure. And from my perspective, of course, being in a larger school, we need you guys just as much as you need us in terms of putting together the fixtures and attending the tournaments. And I'm really happy in our region with this DVAC league that we can have such good relationship of the large schools and small schools getting together like that. It really works out well for everybody, and it just makes all of our programs that much stronger. So just want to say thanks again. Keep up the good work and everything you're doing in your schools, and how we'll benefit from it. So have a great rest of the year going forward. And I know it's going to be busy as we keep going, but obviously with the amazing organizational skills you guys have discussed, it will be no problems going forward for the rest of the school year. So just all the best, guys. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time, wherever that might be in the Danube Valley area.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Thank you for the podcast as well. Enjoying it.
For sure.
Until next week, this has been another episode of the Globetrottin ADs.